I've released over 200 songs and probably watched all the music production tutorials on YouTube. These are 5 of the best curated hacks I could get my hands on to help you become a faster and more productive producer. And for those who want more, we do this exclusively in the Make Your Music community. You can go to makeyourmusic.co or check out the link in the description. To start, now imagine a mountain. At the base of the mountain, there are 2 hikers. Both hikers are beginners, but they equally have the same passion and energy for the sport. But the first hiker gets a compass and a map. The second hiker gets nothing. Who gets to the summit first? Of course, the first hiker, because he has a map and compass. The first hack you need to build into your production system is to use maps. If you're not, you're losing hours of time going up and down wrong paths. Your map in Logic will be your reference track. So how do you find a reference track? What is it? And how do you use it as your map? To find a reference track, try to find a song that is similar to yours or one that you aspire to sound like, let's say. For instance, if I'm making an acoustic guitar ballad, I might bring a James Taylor song up. Or if I'm making a pop banger, I might pull up a song from The Weeknd. Let me now break it down for you and show you step by step how you should use this as your map in Logic. So step 1, add it as an audio track in Logic. Set up a mix bus channel in your DAW and have all your tracks routed to this channel instead of the stereo out channel. Add a channel EQ to the stereo out channel strip, but nothing else. Press solo and mute on your reference track in that order. Now you can compare your mix versus the reference track by just pressing the solo button here on your reference track audio, like this. Up in the cloud. Shapes floating. Add a high cut or low cut on the stereo out channel EQ if you want to compare specific frequency ranges, like this. So comparing your own song to your reference song is your map. Without it, how do you know where you're going? This is especially helpful at the beginning for beginners. So the next hack is going to help remove all that frustration that can come from tiresome mixes that just leave you feeling exhausted for days and you're just like, I've had enough of this. I like to call this the Han Solo method. For all the Star Wars lovers out there, me included, you know Han Solo as fast, he's cool, but contrary to his name, he actually never flies solo. He's always got his sidekick, Chewie. Like Han, what you want to avoid here is using too much of the solo button. But why? Well, the solo button is useful when you want to dial in on a specific track, but it's not helpful in the context of the mix or your entire song. You could actually be doing a disservice to the song. For example, Finneas, one of the biggest producers in the world right now, had to say this.
It's the sum of the parts that sounds great.
I've had similar experiences whenever I come across like a noisy track. I like to solo it out, do a lot of surgical EQ, trying to get rid of all the noise or use noise reduction plugins, but does it really matter? Sure, there's going to be edge cases where, yes, it does matter, but oftentimes the noise in the track can provide a bit of glue or add some texture that could bring out more value than not. If you listen to the Haim song, The Wire, you can hear a ton of noise in the guitar amp, but it works. Would that song have 175 million streams without the noise? Maybe. I don't know. So think of Han Solo right on your shoulder every time you're soloing out a track and ask yourself, is it needed? Okay, let's go even further in the Star Wars analogy. Anyone that knows Han Solo also knows that he is a master in the cockpit. That sounds bad. Okay, but he knows the dials, the buttons, the beeps, the bops, you name it. He's quick. Okay, that sounds even worse, but you need to be more like Han Solo in that way, knowing all the beeps and bops in Logic. Specifically, these 3 tools. Number 1, learning the shortcuts will not only make you faster, but it will make you happier too. I've heard someone say, if it takes you more than 3 clicks, it's too much. Number 2, the Logic Pro templates are going to save you the runtime to get things going in production or mixing. For example, you can have your routing or naming set up, like routing your ref tracks so you can compare them. Use markers for structure too. I know it sounds simple, Just use markers for that blueprint of the song. Save channel strips, add patches too for extra efficiency. Number 3, and I find this one to be actually one of the most underrated tools. Project alternatives are going to help you compare your own mixes or productions against one another and allow you to save different versions of your own project under the same roof. More on this later. Now, this is going to be a true test for all those Star Wars fans. What is the speed called in which you travel through hyperspace? Yes, it's called light speed. Maybe Hans wasn't the smartest smuggler, but he sure was fast, right? Learning how to implement a fast workflow with your production and mixes is definitely going to save you time, but also just the headaches from you having to second guess yourself with everything. So how do you speed up your mix workflow or production workflow? Well, you can use the classic mix method of top-down mixing. So what is top-down mixing and how do you do it? Well, if you think of your song as a funnel, you start at the top floor and work your way down. Specifically, you start mixing on the mix bus or the stereo out channel, and you work your way down to specific buses and then tracks. So you actually don't start from bottom up, you're coming top down. This is a great way to circumvent getting caught in the nitty-gritty details of specific tracks that just might not be an issue. But if you're new to mixing and producing, you may not actually hear the things on the master that could be easily fixed within the tracks themselves. For instance, let's say on a guitar track, there's just way too much boominess or low end. So you bring the master EQ down in that range because you're not sure where it is as you're listening to the entire song. But when you bring the master EQ down or the stereo mix bus EQ down in that range, you're affecting everything, right? So that's a mistake. And it would be much easier if you just could identify from the stereo channel, like, oh, I think there's a problem in my guitar. I'm going to go solo out the guitar and just bring that down. That's why it's difficult for beginners to do top-down mixing at the beginning because you're not sure what you're listening to, honestly, all the time when you're listening to the stereo out track. With that said, top-down mixing is still worthwhile, but keep this problem in mind when you're giving it a go. Next has got to be my favorite hack because it's really just about doing less work. Literally, you don't have to do anything with this one. Let's say you're gonna meet a friend across town. It's a new location, so you have to go to Google Maps and look up the address to get there. So what's the first thing you do on Google Maps? Well, the first thing you do, right, is you look at the entire journey from start to finish. And the second thing you do is you zoom in so you know the details. The problem a lot of us are making with our music is we're never backing out to see where we're going. We're just too stuck into the details and we lose perspective. So how do you regain perspective and just zoom out from the details? Set a timer for 30 minutes. Work as you do, but when the timer goes off, take a 5 to 10 minute break. This is gonna reset your perspective on your song. It will literally make you zoom out. So what are some breaks you can take? Because I'm a nerd, I like to keep a Rubik's Cube beside me on my desk and try to get it done. If I don't do that, I'll go fill up my water bottle or I'll go to the washroom or something. But my favorite thing to do is actually get outside. The ambient noise clears my head, although it's very difficult to do when it's a -30 outside in Canada. I got this trick from my friend, a music engineer. His name's Alex, when we recorded an album I worked on in Germany. Every 30 minutes or so, literally we would just go outside and play 5 minutes of Frisbee, and that's how we mixed my entire album. But will taking a break and regaining perspective completely solve all your production or mix problems? No, it's not, which brings us to our next hack that, if done right, actually could just solve all your problems. Listen to the little snippet of this song and try to pick out what is wrong here. I'll show you the answer in a second, but bonus points if you're the first to answer in the comments. Now, on the other hand, listen to the same song, but can you notice the difference with this one? The problem a lot of us are making, me included, is rushing to get our recordings finished, but not focusing on the quality of the recording. So for the first track you listened to, the acoustic guitar was just not recorded that well. If you spend the time up front, then mixing is honestly going to be a breeze. The tough part is, though, it just takes time. So what are some of the things you can do to speed up that time? Well, it's important to understand the pyramid system. And the pyramid system has 3 levels: songwriting, production, mix. If I'm doing all 3 of these chunks, I spend the most of my time on songwriting, a big chunk of the production, but the smallest amount of time on the mix itself. If you find that your triangle looks like this, you I have a problem. Do not focus on mixing your song until you've spent the quality time on your songwriting and production, and you'll be way better off. This means really focusing on the source of your recordings. But this is a big topic that honestly requires a separate video, which is why you should browse the rest of my channel since I talk about this a lot. Our next hack is going to double down on hack number 4, but also show you the real reason your productions are just stuck at that beginner level. You know when you're really frustrated with a song, but you're just not sure why? Like, is it the song itself? Is it my Logic Pro skills? Maybe it's my mixing skills, or maybe it's my production skills. Maybe I'm just not good enough. Well, yes, it could be any of these, but from my experience, if you're really unsure why you're not in love with your song, it comes down to 2 reasons. First, you've fallen out of love with your song because you've just actually listened to it too much. You're exhausted, and because of this, you're just over it. Second, it's the actual arrangement of the song, or the song itself is weak because you didn't spend enough time on the pyramid system and you've piled too much on it to see where the real problem exists. For example, this is a song that I spent way too many hours on. I fell out of love with it because I was just exhausted, but also my arrangement was weak, which I didn't find out until I did this one very important hack. So what is this hack to avoid exhaustion and identifying bad arrangements? I like to set up a folder on my Mac that is called Revisit. In this folder, I have a lot of projects that I can listen to and see if there's any real future value to them. Like pressing pause on a production gives me ammunition and starting points to whenever I want to work on something in the future. Instead of just starting something from scratch, I'll just go to this Revisit folder. So, but that's another question, like when do you know how to press pause on a mix or a production, right? If it's been a few days and the frustration is still there, or you're not getting shivers from the song while listening to it at home or in the car or in the studio, then that's a pretty good sign to me that it should go in the Revisit folder. I did this recently on a song I co-wrote with multi-platinum singer-songwriter Adam Wendler. We picked up an old song that we both wrote and we weren't thrilled with it, so we put it in the Revisit folder, we looked at it, and now we kind of changed it, rewrote it, pretty much a new song, but it was a starting point to write a new great song. This is why songwriting is the most important thing you can work on. But unfortunately, like fast tracking your mixes isn't going to help with that. It's why you should watch this video here, and I'll show you the 3 most popular songwriting mistakes that you could be making that might be hurting your songs. Honestly, it wasn't the fancy plugins that made me better. It was my songwriting.